place where the echoes of vast worlds settle into a gentle hum. As you prepare to journey into slumber, find a comfortable position, letting your body soften into the support beneath you. Take a slow, deep breath in, feeling your chest rise, and then release it, letting go of any lingering thoughts from your day. Another gentle breath in, filling your lungs with peace, and slowly out, releasing any tension. Allow the rhythm of your breathing to become a soft, steady anchor, drawing you deeper into this peaceful present. There's nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be, save for this quiet moment, listening as the world outside fades and a new, serene landscape unfolds. Tonight, we drift toward the hushed beginnings, the very first whispers that set a monumental timeline into motion. Imagine a place far removed from the clamor, a grand Gothic mansion shrouded in an ancient forest's embrace. Not the mansion of chaos, but of quiet, almost forgotten origins. We step into a secluded study, long after its original occupants have departed. Yet their silent presence lingers in the scent of old paper and polished wood. The air here is still, thick with the weight of untold histories, illuminated by the soft, filtered light of a late afternoon sun struggling through leaded glass. Dust motes dance lazily in the beams, tiny galaxies within the stillness. On a grand, dark wooden desk, aged leather-bound journals lie closed, their pages holding the initial, careful notations of research that would eventually change everything. This is where the story truly began, not with a bang, but with a quiet, scholarly curiosity. Beyond the leather-bound journals, the soft light of the laboratory fell upon a series of meticulously arranged shelves. Each shelf held delicate glassware, beakers, and test tubes, gleaming faintly in the gentle illumination. These weren't filled with chaotic, bubbling concoctions, but rather with clear, still liquids, or perhaps fine, dust-like powders, each labeled with precise, almost calligraphic script. A faint, almost imperceptible hum resonated from a piece of equipment tucked away in a corner, a sophisticated, yet quietly unassuming apparatus that seemed to be conducting some form of gentle, continuous analysis. It glowed with a soft, steady green light, casting long, peaceful shadows across the polished surface of a nearby workbench. On this very bench, a single microscope stood, its brass fittings gleaming softly. Beneath its lens, a prepared slide held a specimen, not a monstrous entity, but a minuscule, almost ethereal arrangement of cells, captured in an early, pristine state. It was a snapshot of something profoundly intricate, yet entirely inert, held still for careful, deliberate study. The air itself felt still, undisturbed by anything but the quiet whisper of research, the patient pursuit of understanding the fundamental building blocks of life, long before any corruption. This quiet vigilance, this focused observation of the microscopic world was the true precursor to all that was to come. A silent prologue unfolding in the tranquil heart of the laboratory, in the tranquil heart of that early laboratory, where the first whispers of a new science began to echo. Time seemed to slow. Imagine glass beakers, gently steaming, their contents swirling with a quiet, almost hypnotic rhythm. The air, though sterile, carried a faint, almost imperceptible scent of reagents, and something else, something ancient, like damp earth and forgotten blooms. Soft hum of distant lab equipment here, under the watchful glow of a single, focused lamp. Researchers moved with quiet purpose. Their hands, gloved and steady, meticulously handled specimens that had traveled from far-off, secluded jungle expeditions. Small, almost unassuming vials held the secrets of a rare flower, a botanical marvel found deep within verdant canopies. It was from these vibrant, almost mythical petals that the very first traces of the progenitor virus were isolated, not yet understood for its terrifying potential. It was merely an enigma, a biological puzzle of unprecedented complexity. They observed its microscopic structure, its unique cellular replication, all within the safe confines of containment. The early days were marked by curiosity, by the quiet thrill of discovery, as if uncovering a hidden language inscribed in nature itself. The screens of their monitors cast a soft, ambient light on their faces, reflecting diagrams of genetic sequences, delicate fractal patterns of life. This was the quiet foundation, the initial spark. A corporation, then in its infancy, saw not just a scientific breakthrough, but a new horizon. The careful cultivation of these first viral strains, the painstaking analysis in pristine glass chambers, these were the very first threads woven into the vast, complex tapestry that would eventually define Raccoon City's fate. A quiet beginning, almost imperceptible, yet holding the weight of all future events within its tiny, dormant structure. As we gently move from that initial, almost imperceptible whisper, our journey takes us deeper into the quiet origins. Imagine a distant research facility nestled away, its purpose cloaked in shadows and the hushed diligence of scientific pursuit. Not the grand, echoing halls of a castle, but a series of sterile, unassuming rooms, lit by the soft hum of fluorescent lights. Subtle, low hum here, within these walls, the very first threads of what would become a complex timeline began to intertwine. It wasn't a sudden, cataclysmic event, but a slow, almost accidental unfolding. Picture a single, forgotten Petri dish, perhaps left on a cool, stainless steel counter after a long night of experimentation. Inside, a subtle, microscopic change might have begun, unnoticed amidst the vast array of other samples. Or perhaps it was a tiny, sealed vial holding a newly synthesized compound, meant for a very different purpose. Its contents, still and serene, held the potential for monumental shifts, yet remained quietly inert, awaiting a precise trigger. The air in these rooms was still, carrying only the faint, metallic scent of antiseptic and the dry paper of countless research notes, carefully filed away in steel cabinets. This is where the very first spark flickered, not with a roar, but with a silent, unseen ripple a researcher might have passed by, lost in thought, completely unaware of the minuscule, pivotal transformation occurring within that single, overlooked vessel. The quiet dignity of science, preparing unknowingly for its greatest, most unforeseen test. Each sterile surface, each silent machine, each hum of ventilation was part of this careful preparation, forming the foundation of a timeline that would soon begin to unfurl. The silent hum of early research, pregnant with unseen potential, slowly building toward its first quiet moment of release. The silent hum of early research, pregnant with unseen potential, slowly building toward its first quiet moment of release. Imagine now a forgotten corner of a sprawling research facility, long before its name became synonymous with the events that would reshape a city. Here, in the dim, cool quiet, the seeds of the Raccoon City outbreak were first sown, not with a bang, but with a whisper of scientific curiosity and ambition. The air in this particular section of the lab is still, carrying only the soft, rhythmic whir of old ventilation systems and the gentle flicker of an aging monitor displaying complex, indecipherable data. Soft hum of machinery-covered equipment, draped in dust sheets, sits patiently in alcoves, awaiting further study, their purpose a quiet secret held within their metallic forms. On a polished, somewhat scuffed workbench, a series of sterile vials stands aligned, each containing a minuscule, almost imperceptible fluid glowing faintly under a focused light. These were the earliest samples, the foundational compounds, handled with a meticulous care that belied the monumental impact they would eventually have. No urgency fills these silent halls, no alarm blares, only the methodical movements of early scientific inquiry, documenting, observing, and preparing. The very first stages of what would become the outbreak were not chaotic, but rather incredibly precise, contained within glass and steel, studied under sterile conditions. This was the quiet, unassuming genesis, a series of controlled experiments in isolation, patiently unfolding, piece by careful piece, contributing to the complex tapestry of the Resident Evil timeline. The initial chain of events began here, not with horror, but with an almost serene, focused dedication to understanding. The future of Raccoon City, and indeed much more, resting in these quiet, sterile hands. From these quiet, sterile hands, the meticulous work would continue, tracing unseen paths into the very fabric of existence. Within the hushed confines of a specialized laboratory, the air remained still, save for the gentle whir of distant ventilation. Here, behind reinforced glass and under soft, constant light, were stored the earliest biological curiosities. Not the virus itself, not yet, but the ancient, almost forgotten fragments that held the potential for so much. Imagine a row of gleaming, frosted containers, each housing a tiny, preserved specimen, perhaps a rare flower from a lost jungle, its petals now a delicate, petrified amber, or a minute fossil holding the secrets of a primordial organism, carefully catalogued and cross-referenced. These were the keys, the dormant blueprints, long before any grand, unsettling design was drawn. They sat in quiet repose, bathed in the soft glow of analytical screens, displaying intricate, dormant genetic structures. One might drift past a quiet terminal, its screen showing endless lines of data classification codes, environmental conditions, historical notes on geological digs, or botanical expeditions. Each entry a tiny step, a data point in a vast, unfolding record. The hum of the server racks providing a low, consistent drone, like a far-off, gentle river. No alarms, no urgency, just the methodical collection of knowledge, piece by quiet piece. The focus was on understanding, on the delicate balance of nature's hidden mechanisms. How these seemingly innocuous samples, once analyzed and understood, could influence the very trajectory of a city like Raccoon City was still an unwritten chapter. For now, there was only the quiet contemplation of origins, the silent study of what lay dormant, waiting. The air, cool and filtered, carried no scent, only the promise of undiscovered truth, carefully contained within these serene walls. The air, cool and filtered, carried no scent, only the promise of undiscovered truths, carefully contained within these serene walls. Your gaze might gently drift now across a long, polished table, its surface reflecting the soft light from above like a still, dark pool. At the far end, a holographic projection shimmers into quiet existence. It's not a frantic image, but a calm, evolving map, showing the earliest known incidents. Soft blue lines trace delicate pathways, almost like veins, across a digital landscape, indicating the initial points of emergence. Each line glows faintly, a whisper of information rather than a shout. Around the edges of this projection, a series of archival panels slides silently into view. They display dates, coordinates, and brief, coded entries. No alarming red alerts, just a calm, historical record. You can almost feel the gentle hum of the systems maintaining this historical database, a quiet testament to a past that has long settled into the annals of research. One panel specifically highlights a small, almost imperceptible cluster of events, deep within the mountainous regions surrounding Raccoon City. It's a distant memory, presented as pure, dispassionate data. The colors on the map are muted, soft greens for geographical features, and the gentle blue for the data, all bathe in the room's ambient, indirect lighting. This isn't a place of urgency, but a sanctuary of quiet understanding, where the complex tapestry of an outbreak's genesis is laid out with thoughtful precision. The subtle shifts in the holographic display, the way the blue lines slowly expand, tell a story without words, a visual chronology of an awakening. It's a journey through data, serene and unhurried, inviting a peaceful contemplation of how something so small can lead to such profound changes, all observed from this quiet, reflective distance. And the quiet hum of forgotten servers seems to whisper tales of beginnings as we drift deeper into the digital archives. Here, amidst the gentle glow of unseen monitors, we find the first threads, the delicate, almost imperceptible strands that wove together the tapestry of Raccoon City's fate. Imagine a research facility, long since abandoned, yet still holding the echoes of quiet dedication. Not the bustling labs of the present, but a smaller, almost intimate space, perhaps a secluded wing within a grander, now silent, complex. Dust motes dance lazily in the faint, ambient light, filtering through a high, grimy window, illuminating a single, sturdy wooden desk. Upon it rests an old, heavy-bound ledger, its pages yellowed with time. No sudden alarms, no frantic scribbles, just precise, almost meticulous entries detailing early biological experiments. Perhaps a small, antique microscope sits beside it, its brass gleaming softly under the dust, hinting at countless hours spent in quiet observation. The air here is still, cool, carrying the faint, almost sweet scent of aged paper and dormant machinery. This is where the very first notations were made, the first careful observations that, in retrospect, carried such immense weight. A quiet understanding begins to settle, a sense of how the smallest, most isolated experiments, conducted in hushed tones, can sometimes ripple outward, slowly at first, then with an unstoppable current. It's a peaceful contemplation of origins, observed from this tranquil, forgotten corner of history, where the seeds of an outbreak were sown not with a bang, but with the quiet turning of a page and the soft click of a microscope lens, the soft click of a microscope lens. A sound now echoed only by the quiet hum of distant, forgotten ventilation systems. Imagine yourself drifting gently into a space where such discoveries were once made. Not a bustling laboratory filled with urgency, but a silent chamber preserved in time, perhaps deep within the umbrella facility, long before Raccoon City knew its fate. The air here is still, carrying only the faint, almost imperceptible scent of old paper and sterilized glass. Before you, a wide, sturdy table, polished to a muted sheen, stretches across the room. Upon it rests a collection of items, carefully arranged as if waiting for their owner's return. A single, dark-bodied microscope stands sentinel, its brass fittings gleaming softly in the dim light, filtering through high, narrow windows. Beside it, stacks of bound notebooks, their covers faded, are tied with delicate twine. Their pages, you sense, contain the careful, meticulous handwritten observations of countless hours spent peering into the unseen world. A small, unlit Bunsen burner, its nozzle pointed harmlessly upward, sits next to a few empty, pristine Petri dishes. Everything speaks of a process, a methodical journey into the unknown, undertaken with a quiet, almost scholarly dedication. There is no sense of chaos here, only the methodical pursuit of knowledge, the slow, deliberate turning of the wheels that would eventually lead to something monumental. This is where the true beginning lies, in the quiet contemplation of microscopic worlds, in the patient recording of data, long before the whispers became screams. The room is a testament to the quiet, almost sacred pursuit of scientific curiosity, now wrapped in a timeless stillness, inviting you to simply observe, without judgment or alarm. The air in this quiet laboratory, though still, seems to hold echoes of past endeavors. A lone terminal, its screen long dark, sits silently on a workbench, perhaps once displaying intricate genetic sequences or cryptic research notes. Dust motes dance in the faint light filtering from above, illuminating faded diagrams tacked to a nearby corkboard sketches of cellular structures, handwritten equations that speak of breakthroughs and dead ends. You might notice a small, overturned beaker, its glass glinting softly, as if frozen in the middle of an experiment. Everything here suggests a time when discovery was the driving force, a relentless pursuit that shaped the very beginnings of what would later become a city's whispered legend. Further into the chamber, beyond a series of inert, gleaming metallic tanks that once hummed with life, a doorway stands ajar. It leads not to chaos, but to a smaller, more contained space. This annex feels like a specialized storage area, perhaps for biological samples or archived data. Rows of simple, unlabeled containers line sturdy shelves, each one a silent capsule of history. They hold no immediate threat now, only the weight of time and purpose. The light here is even softer, dimmer, casting long, peaceful shadows that stretch across the tiled floor. It feels less like a place of secrets and more like a quiet repository of knowledge, patiently waiting for someone to observe its quiet story. Among these shelves, a single, slightly larger container stands out, perhaps a specimen jar encased in amber-tinted glass. Its contents are indistinct, merely a hazy shadow, but its presence signifies a starting point, a singular focus that expanded far beyond these walls. It's a fragment of the very first threads, woven here in sterile silence before the unraveling began. This small, forgotten container now rests, a calm, potent symbol of an origin its journey long concluded, leaving behind only the quiet hum of memory in this undisturbed sanctuary, small, forgotten container, now settled in its quiet alcove, seems to hum with a very faint, almost imperceptible echo of its past. It's a sound felt more than heard, a gentle vibration in the stillness of this silent archive. The light, perhaps from a distant window or a softly glowing luminaire, catches the fine dust motes dancing lazily in the air around it, creating tiny, fleeting galaxies of light that drift slowly downwards. Near this unassuming vessel, on a heavy, dark wooden table, lies a collection of aged, leather-bound journals. Their pages, once filled with hurried notes and anxious observations, are now closed, holding their secrets tight within their brittle covers. One journal in particular, slightly larger than the rest, bears a faded, almost illegible inscription on its spine, a name, a date, perhaps a location. It speaks of painstaking records, of dedicated minds trying to comprehend the incomprehensible long before the wider world understood what was truly unfolding. Each crease in its worn leather, every faint stain on its cover, tells a story of tireless study, of hypotheses tested and theories debated in hushed tones. It's as if these journals are the quiet witnesses to the container's initial impact, chronicling the very first whispers of an unforeseen transformation. They rest alongside it, not as threats, but as silent historians documenting the genesis of a pivotal moment, a moment that began in quiet labs and hidden facilities, far from the bustling city that would one day bear its lasting imprint. The room holds these memories gently, allowing them to simply be. In this undisturbed peace, the quiet hum of the old research facility continues, a low, steady sound that seems to cradle the very air. You find yourself drawn deeper into this silent archive of beginnings, a place where history unfolds not with shouts, but with soft, faded blueprints and dim, forgotten terminals. Here, the first whispers of a grand, intricate design began to take shape, long before the city's name became synonymous with shadows. A series of ancient monitors flicker gently in a corner, their screens displaying abstract, swirling patterns that resemble genetic sequences or complex organic structures. They are muted, almost decorative now, like forgotten art installations from a distant era. The data they once processed, the decisions they once informed, have long since settled into the fabric of the timeline. They speak of intricate experiments, careful observations, and the slow, deliberate steps taken in laboratories tucked away from the world. Next to them, a dusty, worn logbook lies open, its pages yellowed with time. Though the specific details are too faded to discern, you can sense the dedication held within its lines. Each entry, a testament to countless hours spent in quiet pursuit, charting the unknown. These were the early days, where the blueprint for what would become known as the Outbreak was meticulously drawn, not with malice, but with a scientific curiosity that sometimes oversteps its bounds. The air here is still, preserving these relics of inception. You can almost feel the presence of unseen researchers, their careful footsteps echoing softly through the empty corridors, their focused gazes fixed on these very screens and documents. They were laying the groundwork, piece by piece, for the intricate tapestry of events that would eventually define a city and an entire timeline. This room is a gentle guardian of those quiet origins, holding them in a timeless, undisturbed repose. The soft light within this archive room falls gently upon shelves filled with bound journals and meticulously labeled specimen jars, each one a silent chronicle of observations, early theories, and the meticulous, almost mundane steps taken long before the city ever knew its fate. You can almost feel the quiet diligence of those who once worked here, their early efforts now a part of a larger, profound history. One particular shelf holds a series of delicate pressed plant samples, their vibrant greens and deep purples muted by time, yet still possessing a quiet beauty. These were not just botanicals. They were among the very first test subjects, the initial curiosities that sparked a chain of events. Their story began here, in this unassuming quiet, far removed from the bustling streets of Raccoon City. A faint, almost imperceptible hum comes from a nearby display case, where a single crystalline vial rests, softly illuminated from within. It holds a pale, amber liquid, perfectly still, perfectly contained. This is not the wild, destructive force that would later spread, but its earliest, most refined form a carefully cultivated essence. It represents the very beginning, the first quiet spark of what would become the T-virus, held now in a state of tranquil suspension. This calm, almost reverent space quietly speaks of the path from scientific curiosity to unintended consequence. It is a chamber of first steps, where the seeds of a legendary timeline were sown in hushed whispers and careful experiments, long before they bloomed into something so much larger. The air here is still, carrying only the dust of ages and the echoes of profound beginnings. The air, thick with the scent of aged paper and dormant chemicals, seems to carry the very essence of those early, tentative steps. You trace a path past rows of inert analytical equipment, their screens dark, their indicator lights long since faded. Here, beneath the weight of accumulated knowledge and hidden ambition, were the initial attempts to harness what was then barely understood. Perhaps a faded label on a dusty containment unit or a forgotten schematic tacked to a corkboard speaks volumes without uttering a single sound. These aren't the chaotic labs of later days, but rather the quiet genesis points, the precise, almost sterile environments where theories were tested and samples meticulously catalogued. Imagine a single humming refrigerator, its low thrum a steady heartbeat in the silence, holding dormant biological material. Not dangerous now, just significant, a relic of potential. A small, aged terminal sits quietly in a corner, its keyboard yellowed with time, displaying only a static green cursor, waiting for an input that will never come. Its memory holds the earliest hypotheses, the first recorded observations of cellular anomalies, the very first moments when the path diverged. The light filtering in here is often indirect, perhaps from a vent high above or through a small reinforced window that hints at the layers of earth and stone shielding this place from the world. It illuminates motes of dust dancing in slow motion, like tiny, silent witnesses to the unfolding of a monumental timeline. Each particle, suspended in the gentle current of the air, feels like a forgotten moment, a fragment of a decision made in this very space, setting wheels in motion. The soft hum of distant ventilation is the only sound, a constant, low murmur that cradles the profound quiet of this historical chamber, where the future of Raccoon City, and so much more, was quietly, almost imperceptibly, forged. The gentle hum of the air conditioning is the only sound, a constant, low murmur that cradles the profound quiet of this historical chamber, where the future of Raccoon City, and so much more, was quietly, almost imperceptibly, forged. Your gaze now drifts past the general archives, settling on a distinct alcove. Here, amidst the soft glow of recessed lighting, stands a series of displays unlike the others. These aren't just documents, they are encased fragments of the very beginning. A soft, almost ethereal luminescence emanates from within these exhibits, illuminating the delicate curves and lines of preserved research. One display features a single, stylized schematic, glowing faintly from within its protective resin. It depicts a molecular structure, intricate yet simplified, hinting at the complex biological engineering that would eventually lead to what is known as the T-virus. There are no alarming details, just the calm, abstract representation of an idea taking form, a concept rendered in gentle, almost artistic strokes. Beside it, an old, well-preserved data terminal hums almost silently, its screen displaying what appear to be timelines. Not grim predictions, but historical research logs, charting the early foundational studies. You can almost trace the careful, meticulous steps taken in distant, forgotten laboratories long before the name Raccoon City became synonymous with its tragic turning point. The screen's soft, amber glow casts a warm light on the polished metal console, reflecting the quiet contemplation of these crucial, foundational moments. It's a serene, almost reverent space, dedicated to understanding the quiet origins of a widespread ripple. Here, time seems to slow, allowing for a peaceful observation of the very first threads of a complex tapestry, tracing back to the earliest ideas that set an entire timeline into motion. The air itself feels still, heavy with the weight of meticulously recorded history, yet utterly calm and safe. From the quiet hum of the archives, your gaze drifts to a section dedicated to the initial findings, the very first threads of what would become a complex tapestry. Here, in a softly lit alcove, rests a display, showcasing early scientific instruments and records. A vintage microscope, its brass dulled by time, but still meticulously cared for, sits upon a polished wooden stand. Beside it, a few faded, bound notebooks lie open, their pages filled with precise, almost delicate handwriting, detailing the earliest observations of unique viral strains. These are the notes from the initial discovery, a time before anyone understood the profound implications, when it was merely a curious biological anomaly. Soft rustle of turning pages, the air here feels like a gentle whisper from the past, holding the echoes of countless hours spent in quiet observation, in the precise documentation of things that seemed small at first, but held the blueprint for everything that followed. Each drawn diagram of a cellular structure, each carefully recorded culture, speaks of a diligent, focused beginning. There's a certain peacefulness in seeing the uncorrupted genesis of it all before the shadows lengthened and the timeline diverged into something far grander and more terrifying. For now, in this quiet corner, only the soft glow of a small archival lamp illuminates these foundational moments, preserved in perfect stillness. The soft glow of the archival lamp seems to beckon further into the quiet history. Beyond the files, a faint, almost imperceptible hum might have once resonated from a quiet laboratory chamber. It was here, in such sterile, ordered spaces, that the earliest iterations of what would become the T-virus were first observed, not as a terrifying plague, but as a fascinating biological anomaly. Imagine a gleaming countertop, sterile and reflective, holding a single unassuming vial. Inside, a liquid shimmered with an almost unnoticeable iridescence, a silent promise of immense, chaotic power. No dramatic alarms, no sudden breaks, just the methodical quiet of scientific inquiry, far removed from the city lights. An old, leather-bound journal might lie open nearby, its pages filled with neat, precise handwriting detailing cellular observations, growth patterns, and early hypotheses. The words themselves are just data carefully recorded, yet each entry a tiny step down a path that would reshape a world. The air in this imagined space is still, perhaps carrying the faintest ghost of antiseptic, or the metallic tang of old equipment, now cooled and silent. A single, dusty microscope brass gleaming softly under the ambient light, sits patiently on the bench, as if waiting for one last, crucial observation. Its cold, intricate mechanics once focused on the very blueprint of the coming change. Around it, other forgotten tools of research lay undisturbed. A glass petri dish, still holding the faint ghost of a culture, or a rack of empty test tubes, their surfaces catching dust like tiny, translucent memories. This quiet, almost forgotten laboratory, tucked away in the sprawling umbrella complex, was where curiosity first danced with creation, setting into motion the very first whispers of Raccoon City's fate. It's a space now steeped in stillness, holding only the echoes of meticulous work, a testament to how the grandest, most terrifying events often spring from the most unassuming, silent beginnings. From that silent laboratory, the gentle hum of forgotten equipment might seem to fade into the walls, as if the very air remembers to keep its secrets. We drift now along a dimly lit corridor, the polished tiles reflecting the soft glow from unseen sources, a path worn smooth by countless journeys, yet now utterly still. The silence here is profound, a hushed testament to the past, to the foundations laid long ago. We arrive at a modest, yet functional office tucked away from the more active research areas. Here, towering bookshelves line one wall, filled with binders and thick tomes, their spines faded with time, each holding a fragment of the vast, intricate timeline. Dust motes dance lazily in the thin shafts of moonlight that pierce a high, narrow window, illuminating a large, sturdy desk at the room's center. On the desk, a solitary, antique-looking terminal screen glows faintly, displaying an inactive, pixelated interface, a schematic of a biological compound, perhaps, or forgotten entry log. It's a relic, quiet and unmoving, yet it hints at the complex web of decisions and discoveries that once unfolded within these very walls. Nearby, a simple desk lamp casts a warm, golden pool of light over a stack of neatly organized, faded reports, their covers hinting at classified research, initial findings, and theoretical constructs. The air itself feels heavy with history, with the silent weight of information. This isn't a place of action anymore, but a quiet archive, a silent witness to the meticulous groundwork that preceded the larger events. You can almost feel the presence of careful hands turning pages, of minds piecing together early data, unaware of the vast, echoing consequences that would eventually ripple outwards from this very origin point. It's a space of contemplation, a quiet chapter in a long, unfolding story, inviting you to simply rest and observe its peaceful stillness. The stillness here isn't one of emptiness, but of a quiet archive, a place where echoes of past discoveries gently settle. You might notice a soft, ambient glow emanating from a console, its screens displaying faded schematics of biological structures, or perhaps a long-forgotten data log, its text scrolling slowly across the display. It's not an active scene, but a preserved memory, humming softly with the residue of its purpose, a quiet chapter in the Resident Evil timeline. This quiet observation post, perhaps an old research terminal in what was once a bustling lab, now serves as a silent chronicler. Dust motes dance lazily in the faint, diffused light filtering through a high, grimy window, illuminating the subtle contours of forgotten instruments and dormant biocontainment units. On a nearby metal surface, a weathered notebook lies open, its pages filled with meticulous, yet cryptic, handwritten notes and diagrams, a testament to early theories and hypotheses that once seemed abstract, now imbued with a quiet significance. These are the quiet fragments of information, the initial observations that began to piece together the narrative of the first outbreak. No alarm sound, no urgency stirs the air, only the gentle whisper of cooling systems from a distant, unseen server room provides a rhythmic backdrop. It's a silent prologue, a foundational moment preserved as if under glass, allowing for a calm, unhurried understanding. You trace the outlines of a complex protein structure on one of the console displays with your mind's eye, a silent symbol of the meticulous, often misunderstood work that preceded the wider world's awakening. A quiet hum, subtle, distant hum of old machinery. The subtle hum of old machinery now gently recedes, softening into the background, becoming almost imperceptible. The soft glow from the console displays begins to dim, one by one, like distant stars fading at the approach of a quiet dawn. The intricate data, the careful notations, the silent chronicle of how it all began in Raccoon City settles into a peaceful, dormant state within the memory banks of this quiet terminal. You imagine the screen now a soft, dark mirror, reflecting only the stillness of the room, perhaps a faint, lingering outline of your own peaceful presence. The air grows cool and calm, carrying no whispers of urgency, only the profound quiet that follows the end of a long, thoughtful journey. All the questions of origin, of initial spark, are now gently catalogued, stored away in this tranquil, forgotten corner of time. This quiet understanding, this gentle tracing of beginnings, now rests. There is no need for further thought, no more seeking. The path has led to this moment of profound stillness, this tranquil archive, where the story of the very first outbreak in Raccoon City now resides, calm and undisturbed. Let your own senses drift and settle, much like the fading light on the console. Feel the quiet envelop you, inviting you deeper into its peaceful embrace. The world outside this moment of rest is distant, its concerns as soft and indistinct as shadows on a far-off wall. Allow yourself to be entirely held by this peaceful stillness, letting your breath grow slow, and even your thoughts becoming soft and hazy. As the last lingering echo of the hum disappears, and the final trace of light on the screen winks out, surrender to the profound quiet. This journey through the quiet genesis is complete, and now it is time for you to rest deeply and peacefully. Let sleep find you easily, like the quiet closing of a very old, very wise book. Good night.